So the genus Homo, not the species Homo sapiens sapiens. And Homo is where that first branching off from the common ancestors occurred, the common ancestors of Homo and other primates. Was there, yes?
Where's the beginning defined as?
Oh, the beginning is okay, so the Kali Yuga lasts 422,000 years, right? The Dvapara Yuga, before that, 864,000 years. The Tret Yuga, 1,296,000 years, and the Satya Yuga, 1,728,000 years. If you add up all those years, this is the total of one cycle of the 4 ages.
And where does it begin?
Well, it would have begun. Okay, so where are we now? In other words,
I guess what was the event at the beginning of when their cycle began? How did they define when it began?
That's a very good question. It could be that Todd knows the answer to that.
They say it keeps cycling around, and at the end of each cycle, there's a big cataclysm.
Yeah, but what causes it? See, I'm not sure what the causal event is that allows the each
Manu.
the reappearance of Manu. You mean?
Yeah, there's a schedule of Manus. There's Brahma, and then they create Manus, and then Manus
Gives the law and so on. All right, so we don't know, in other words. But what is interesting, though, is that we have the date of the beginning of the Kali Yuga. So first of all, I just gave you where how long each one is, but we didn't say where we are. So we said we're somewhere in the Kali Yuga, since the Kali Yuga is the Iron Age when the Dharma has seemingly degenerated and where lifespans are short, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a kind of end time. It's the Hindu eschaton, right? Just as Mappo is the Buddhist eschaton. Now, the Buddhist and the Hindu eschatons, of course, are embedded in these recurring cycles. So. But the question is, all right, we know how long Kali Yuga is. Do we know when it started? Yes, we do. That's amazing. It started in 3102 BCE, which just happens to be right sort of in the middle of the emergence of what historians call true writing. So the stabilization of alphabetic script, which signals the beginning of history. So the beginning of the historical period, again, which is not to say that stuff wasn't happening before then. Of course it was. We even had proto-writing and even the first examples of true writing before then, but the stabilization of true writing and the appearance of continuous records now of generally conquering states begins right about here. So the beginning...
When did that happen, Sean?
Where? In Sumer.
Sumer.
Yeah. So history begins in Sumer.
Not in the Zhou dynasty.
Well, there are cities and there are records, but we don't. As there are ruins, there are cities. There was stuff there. Presumably, there was some kind of civilization. We just don't have records of it. So traditionally, history begins with the narratives we have of those times. We don't have narratives, at least continuous narratives prior to that. Yes, there was Mohenjo-daro. Harappa in the Hindu continent, just as there were cities on this continent for which we have no records. Right? So that the historical period, that sort of mindset, which is associated with alphabetic scripts, and not only alphabetic scripts actually, but ideographic scripts with the Egyptian hieroglyphs, for instance. True writing, that begins right about here. That's pretty interesting. Now, what's also interesting is that this is only 12 years off from the beginning of the Mayan Great Count. So we're going from Mappo to Great Count here now. We've gone from from Eschaton through Mappo and the Kali Yuga to the Mayan Great Count. And now, I can't pretend to know the details of the Mayan Great Count. I've studied a number of times the Mayan calendar, in a very amateurish way, and usually after a couple of months, what I've learned fades away, and I just can't retain it. But there are some things I can retain, and that is this notion of a great cycle of time. So the Mayans had several different ways of marking time that involved tracking the positions of the planets, particularly Venus, the cycles of Venus, the moon, the sun, and interactions between them, possibly also the precession of the equinoxes. That's not absolutely sure. But there's a combination of these different ways of tracking celestial bodies that allowed them to derive what is called the Great Count. And it's a count that, as you probably know, is due to come to an end on December 21st, 2012. Okay, so all the talk of 2012, it has a very precise time, December 21st, 2012. Well, what's interesting is that count began on August 14th, 3114 BCE. Oops. Just 12 years off from the beginnings of the Kali Yuga. Now, in the Hindu sense, the Kali Yugas, we're at the very beginning of the Kali Yuga. Just basically 5,000 years into a 422,000 year decline. Unless Yogananda's guru is correct and his much smaller count of the yugas is true. But that's a very recent reinterpretation of the yugas. But it's a very interesting, to me, striking synchronicity that the traditional dating of the beginning of the Kali Yuga is only 12 years off from the beginning of the Mayan Great Count, which is due to come to an end within, so what are we now? Well, within a couple of years, right? 2 years and, yeah, so less than 2 years.
Sean Wendy has a question.
I was just curious, the revision of the Kali Yuga, is that, do you know the date where that would put the end?
I can't, I think it puts us in Dvapada Yuga, actually, but I'm not totally sure. I'll find out for you. I can't remember. But the, try to remember his name. It's, yes, you could.
I don't know if it's pronouncing it right.
How do you spell it? That's what I couldn't. It's
I wrote it.
Yukatsvar. Wait,
T-E-S-W-A-R?
Y-U-K.
E.
Yeah, E-T-S.
S-W-A-R.
That's right. Yukatsvar, something like that. I think it's that. Anyway, he was the teacher of Swami Paramahamsa Yogananda. And in the 19th century, he wrote a book that reinterpreted the yugas, actually according to the great cycle of the precession of the equinoxes, which he said was due to the fact that our solar system is actually moving through space and is in an elliptical orbit around a binary star. So there's our sun, and then there's another double sun, which we can't quite see, and it takes about 24,000 years for our solar system to orbit around this binary star system. And that 24,000 year cycle, of course, is a cycle of the Platonic great year, or the precession of the equinoxes, which we don't have time to get into right now. Because there's not much time left, as you can see. We're right at the end. Yeah. Todd?
Just also the Gaudiya Vaishnava school, they say that a 10,000 year little golden age within Kali Yuga started 500 years ago.
A mini golden age within Kali Yuga.
Because of Chaitanya's movement will create a delay of the full blast of Kali Yuga for 10,000 years.
Wow. Neat.
Gaudiya Vaishnava.
I can get that. Hopefully, I can get that detail from you later. Just want to make a little bit of room here. I can get rid of these eschatons, probably, right? And this. Just to get a sense of what this 2012 thing is.
All these endings, Sean, is there anybody of importance that's saying it's not ending? There's
No, they all say that.
all the biggies.
Everybody says
All your
that.
sources, the usual reliable sources, say that we're in an eschaton.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. We are in the end times. The question is, what's on the other side? And the other question is, how big is the threshold? You know, some people imagine an instantaneous transformation. Some people imagine it stretched out much longer. Some people imagine the transformation as being obvious to the physical senses. Others imagine it as being more subtle. So there's all kinds of differences of opinion about the nature of the threshold and what's on the other side. But everybody agrees that we're in the end times.
At least several of these eschatons.
Well, this is my, I mean, the multiple converging eschatons is sort of my take on it. But most people speak of one or the other, or, you know, they.
I guess my question is, are there of these great, fabulous seers that we all talk about, are there any that are saying, in one respect it looks like an eschaton, but in these 2 or 3 important respects, we're only in the middle? You haven't come across that?
Well, some say that we're at the beginning, or at the very beginning, like Morin talks about us being in the planetary Iron Age. So we're at the very beginning of the realization of a kind of goal, Teilhard's goal of planetization. Well, Morin imagines that, yes, we are in that, but we're in the Iron Age, so we still have a long way to go. Nobody says that we're in the middle. We're either at the end or at the beginning. You know, we're on this threshold, but I don't know of anybody who says we're in the middle. Yes?
Some response to that question, which is to shed some light on the apocalypse concept. We just began a Hebrew year, 5771, and one traditional, which I just crunched numbers, would have begun about 1,000 years before those other counts.
That's actually 5771 is very close.
It's pretty close. But in any case, a traditional Jewish conception of the world to come is that it must happen within 6,000 years. The 1,000 years following those 6,000 years are like an age of perfection on the planet. But it's not. But we, like human beings, are responsible, or traditionally Jews are responsible to bring that about. So that's a little more time to answer your question. Yeah.
Well, this is something that we can get into more detail maybe after the break, because we do have a break coming up soon. I just want to get some. I want to get some. Just a minute. Let me get a bit more stuff out, and then maybe I can save more for after the break. You have to tell me when you normally break.
We don't break.
Oh, it's only an hour and a half, the whole thing?
No, it's an hour. No, it's more. It's an hour and
45 minutes.
45 minutes, and people speak
Okay.
out if they need to or want to, whatever.
Okay.
They could miss a major eschaton. If they
Well, just those of you who don't know, I just want to give you a little thing of what the 2012 date actually means. I mean, one of the things that it means phenomenologically, astronomically, but also mythically.